I don't even know if I can do my normal voice today because I've been sick.
Yes, you can't. You just got to go for it.
For a week. So here we go. It's time for the Burning River Sportscast. It's bitter cold outside, but the NFL playoffs are heating up as we are 1 week closer to crowning a world champion. Meanwhile, nowhere near the postseason back in Berea, the Browns think they may have found their solution to their defensive woes in a pair of dirty old gym shorts. Is he the answer to our prayers, our long-awaited ass kicker, or is he just a pair of sweaty activewear? We'll break it all down for you next on the Burning River Sportscast.
Gym shorts. You got him in the opening segment. Wasted no time. Went right after gym shorts. Air quotes. Win probability added over expected.
The all-wapo way.
Yeah, exactly. So soft. It's just so soft. Hashtag flaccid. And we're all drowning and going to hell. And
What did they teach you about water in school and the earth?
they try to teach me that if I run the sink for too long, that it pulls all the water out of a pond and it drowns all the fishes.
That's what they taught you.
Good old gym shorts. How many people are on Earth right now?
7 billion. That's
We're lucky enough to be 2 of them? Wow. I like to call bullshit on that one.
Welcome into the Burning River Sportscast, presented by Tappan Media. I'm Kenny Thunder. Seated next to me is the world's foremost connoisseur and collector of ancient Egyptian burial rugs and financier of all-time Bruce Willis box office stud, The Fifth Element, the immaculately conceived Red Hot Ronnie Jams. Ronnie, can you remind our friends, in deeply scientific terms, of course, where they can find our podcasts?
Yeah. You can find find our podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and so many more.
Is that as scientific as you could get to?
I don't know a scientific way to say podcast.
You're not a
directory.
You're not a scientist?
You're not a scientist.
Fair. I wish I was one, that I could come up with this whatever I'm fighting, because I have been sick for at least a week, and I've been miserable. This is, outside of like going to work a couple days, this is the only thing I've done besides sleep for the last week.
Great.
You're welcome.
Anyways, dog, you ready to get gassed up here?
I'm always gassed up.
Sorry, I thought I was Randy whatever
What are we
from American Idol for a second there. Yo, dog. Dog, you ready to get gassed up?
Have you seen him lately?
Is he skinny?
He's like...
Or did he get real fat again?
Like, I'm going to put a picture up here. Yeah, he's like scary skinny, and he's doing some dumb show where he like plays one note of a piano. I don't know, but he's just like, he looks like a skeleton.
Why do you have Randy Jackson's autograph on a martial arts weapon? And you're not going to not get Randy Jackson's autograph, right?
But anyways,
what are we getting gassed up about?
Here's the deal. Did you see Ticketmaster? They've been under a magnifying glass in the public due to, the recent disastrous issues when people try and get their tickets. There was Taylor Swift, Bad Bunny last year, and now they were getting there was like a deposition this week. Did you see all that going on? Yeah,
they were having a congressional hearing about Ticketmaster this week. Yeah, this has been quite the snafu.
Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on the whole secondary market as far as tickets go for concerts, sporting events, what have you?
Are you really going to get me gassed up on a political issue at the beginning of our show?
Oh, yeah.
The show's over.
Let's do it.
It's done.
Come on, what are your thoughts?
I mean, so first off, here's the deal. This whole thing is just a cluster bomb of epic proportion. There's three things. When did the merger between Live Nation and Ticketmaster take place?
I don't know.
To make them the largest ticket holder in the world.
When did it take place?
It was like right after we got out of high school, like 2009, 2010. And the holdup at the time was Ticketmaster is going to have cornered the market and there'll be a monopoly. And the government said, we're pretty afraid of this happening because if you own 80% of the market share, you're a monopoly. And they said, we'll only ever own like 30. And they were like, stamped.
Here we are.
So one, the government has failed you from the start.
Fast forward 10 years.
So the government.
Okay, we've been graduated longer than 10 years.
Yeah, well, it was around that time. So the government failed you, as they always will. And secondly, the artists have failed you, because Taylor Swift isn't the first one to kind of go through this. Pearl Jam had a similar issue like back in the mid 90s. And here's the thing. All these guys continue to sign big deals with Ticketmaster. I mean, let's do some quick math. There was 2.5 million tickets sold for Taylor's tour. So let's just call that an average ticket of $100. Does that seem fair? Like, what is that? Don't even do the cash. It's just buckets and buckets of cash.
This is an easy calculation. 250 million.
250 million. Buckets and buckets of cash.
Lots of cash.
For a year of singing. Artists love it because they're clearing tens of millions of dollars. Venues love it because they deal with one vendor. And the cycle just continues because the government said it was okay.
And Ticketmaster / Live Nation just continues to get bigger.
And bigger. And bigger. And
they thought 80% was the market share that Ticketmaster was going to have. Oh, boy, were they wrong.
We'll come back to that in a second. But quick redirect. So it feels like a lot of the vitriol is directed directly at Ticketmaster, which there's some, certainly, because they've let their product get complacent and sucky and don't have the technology to keep up with the market demanded today.
Well, because why would you make it better
There's no competition.
If you have the entire market?
But to be fair, they went to the government and they were like, we'll be able to handle this for sure. And the government was like, okay. So what else what else is their responsibility?
Well, again, I go back to what you said at the beginning of this whole thing is when it comes to government, our government specifically, the number one thing that comes to mind is efficiency. So, I had no doubts that this was going to work out well.
I mean, but seriously, what else is their responsibility? Like they went through the steps. They did their job, their due diligence. They paid off congressmen, whatever they had to do, and they got their deal approved. Anyway, the third thing, you America, you have failed yourself here. You want to put Ticketmaster in their place? Let the market work, Jim. Stop using it. If everybody stops buying through Ticketmaster, what happens to Ticketmaster?
Yeah.
They evolve, they innovate, they offer the best product at the best price, because if you stop buying, they have no cash flow.
If you stop buying, they will collapse.
They will collapse. You want to hear good music? Okay, we can't buy tickets through Ticketmaster anymore. That sucks for a little while until we figure this whole thing out. But you want to hear some good music? There's a corner bar in every town across this country that has local groups in it, guys and gals that can really belt it. They're your neighbors, your friends, your community.
Hell, that's how Kenny made a living for a while.
Yeah, Chippendales. Stop giving your hard-earned money to celebrities and mega bands that don't share your values, that have no idea what it's like to live and work in the real world, and frankly are probably disgusted by your peasant existence. But they do know that if they put in auto-tuned, pre-recorded, semi-concert mega deal with 30 or 50 concerts out there, that you'll keep going. You'll keep buying tickets, and then they can buy a boat to put it in their other boat.
Which is your goal in life.
Well, sure, I'd love to have two boats, one that goes inside of the boat, but that's what we're doing here.
Put a picture up of a boat in a boat,
and
just so people can see what you're talking about.
Yeah,
if they don't know, they'll be like, what is he talking about, a boat in a boat? That's a boat in a boat.
A boat, you have a yacht, but then you need something to cruise around the islands with, You can't just pull an 80-foot yacht into a key.
So you need a boat for your boat.
You need a boat for your boat so you can go transatlantic. One more thing, honorable mention. Big tech has failed you. I'm looking at you, Elon, Bezos, Zuckerberg, Jobs, R.I.P., Tim Cook.
Zuckerberg's favorite pig.
How do we not have Amazon tickets yet? Or Facebook shows? Or Apple events? Or Twitter transactions?
Yeah, I agree.
All of you guys at the forefront of digital technology that have the infrastructure to support digital transactions, digital currency, and are looking constantly for new revenue streams, you already collect all of our data and metadata and create profiles of us to sell our information. Why not collect more on our entertainment tastes and our spending habits?
Even if those guys, not that I'm usually not for all of the richest guys in the world getting together and taking and joining forces and becoming even richer, but have all those guys come together and build a superior platform for us to be able to utilize.
I don't even want all of them. I want 3 of them. I want them each to be able to do their own.
Well, that's fine. I'm just saying, even if they came together, then we at least have something to go against the 90% share that Ticketmaster has.
Yeah, Ricky Tikki Tabi. Ricky Tikki Tabi. What was that? What's the Ricky Tikki?
Ricky Tikki Tavi.
Ricky Tikki. Ricky Tiki.
Shut up. Go on.
Not Joe Sorembo, Cherry Berry Rucci, Pip Berry Pembo.
There you go. He got it.
So I don't want them all to team up. Don't get me wrong. This isn't the Justice League of Ticketmaster. Like, I don't want all of them to just scratch each other's backs. Like, you scratch my back, I scratch your back.
Funny thing about my back.
We can't all scratch each other's back. But but who else has the digital prowess and capital to go to venues and go to artists and say, we'll buy a million tickets. We'll mark them up and resell them to users already actively using our platform. Imagine you walk into Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse or Madison Square Garden to see Elton John, and you don't print anything out. You don't need to download a new app that has one measly purpose in its life. You just open up your Facebook.
Well, and I will
open up your Twitter and you QR scan your way into the event.
Yeah.
They have all of your personal and payment information already.
It's true. I'll say this. You mentioned the bands as it's partly their fault. In most cases, that's true. I will give a shout out. My wife's favorite band is the Foo Fighters. And a lot of times what they do with their tickets, I'm not saying all the time, but a lot of times what they do with their tickets is, especially if it's some sort of special event, is you can't transfer tickets. So once you buy them, you have to use the ticket. And if they're transferred in any way, the tickets are void. Why can't more artists do that in order to cut down on this Ticketmaster bot buying up every ticket known to man and then reselling it to everybody for 4 times the price?
Because most of them care about their boat and they despise you.
All right.
They despise you. But anyway,
F them.
Back to back to our billionaire friends. If any one of them could create a tickets app inside of their app, they could actually be doing something super valuable for the market, provide competition, make money hand over fist. You have access to a whole new treasure trove of our data backlogged so you can sell me more shit. Stop trying to sell me a pair of mannequin feet on Wish and sell me tickets to Air Supply next time.
Why do you get so many ads for mannequin feet? You send it to me at least once a week. You're like, trying to get me with the mannequin feet again.
Sell me tickets to Air Supply next time they're in town. In addition, how about brand exclusivity? Imagine if Facebook sponsored Taylor Swift's tour, and the only way you could get a ticket was through Facebook, and they did all the promotion, and you have brand engagement because
it was the only place that any of it streamed or any of it did anything.
You have geofilters and you have hashtags. Facebook loves T Swift. Like, talk about platform engagement. Like,
yeah, you're over there trying to build a metaverse.
Yeah, quit that. Make Ticketmaster.
Why don't you make the metaverse me in virtual reality going to the Taylor Swift concert that I don't want to go to?
Yeah, nobody else has the digital infrastructure or the capital assets.
Also, sorry, what America, Taylor Swift and Bad Bunny, those are the ones that you're getting worked.
That's the ones that broke Ticketmaster?
Come on. This is why you get a lot of the blame.
But here's what I'd tell you is that if Facebook and Twitter did take on this mantle of
I like where you're
selling tickets.
They really need to hire you.
Yeah, they fucking should. Because you know what else is trending besides Facebook loves T Swift or Twitter Tour 2023?
Ticketmaster.
I was going to say, your fucking stock price and your company valuation. Like, how has big tech missed the boat on this? It's of all this stupid metaverse, right? Like, the hundreds of millions of dollars that we've invested in the metaverse.
Much money on it, and it's the worst product. Like, has anybody seen anything with that? It's so bad. Like, everybody that I know that even dabbles with that, they're like, yeah, that was dumb.
Nobody wants it. I mean, the Oculus, in theory, is like a video game. It's fun for an hour.
Yeah, but your entire life, I don't think so.
No, I don't want to live in the metaverse.
Like, I live in the real world. I don't live in the metaverse.
So anyway, to put a bow on this Ticketmaster thing, you know what we're going to settle for? Because now Congress has their hands back on this, and they didn't get it right 13 years ago or however long it was. But we're going to send it back to them. We're going to let them solve it. So what we're going to do, they're going to say, okay, well, you have too much market share now because you have almost 80% of the market.
We're going to split you up into Live Nation.
We're going to split you back up into Live Nation and Ticketmaster. Mind you,
they're both going to do the exact same thing.
They'll still be run by the same people. And mind you, Live Nation doesn't have now a platform that they've maintained or upgraded for the last 15 years. So
you're going to buy all the tickets through Ticketmaster.
You'll still have one platform that's archaic, dying, and aging versus another one that hasn't been updated in the last 10 years because they haven't had to. So these are the same people running it, the same people making the money, the same two platforms that just add to your bullshit user experience, poor customer service, and ultimately your frustration because that's how government works.
Do you want to know a fun fact?
But hey, nobody asked me.
Do you want to know a fun fact? This is a Browns podcast. So we're going to continue on here. I'm going to cut you off. We're going to continue on. I knew I could get you fired up, and we'll talk more about that.
I'm gassed up.
Yeah, we'll talk more about that when we get gassed up started. Spoiler alert. It still feels bad that the Browns aren't playing, but let's still go ahead and get right into the Burning River Rundown. Yeah, so we mentioned it last week in the offseason here. We've gone to the Burning River Rundown as kind of an all things Cleveland sports rundown of the latest and greatest Cleveland sports news.
Burning River Rundown.
So we'll start with the playoff reaction here. It feels so bad watching the Bengals go out there and look like absolute world beaters.
You know who the last team to beat the Bengals was?
The Browns.
The Browns.
And we didn't just beat them, we humped them. But yeah, I mean, speaking of the Bengals, they did win again this week. We'll talk about that a little later in the show. Are you buying that the Bengals are Ohio's team? Ohio's team in the playoffs? Air quotes, Ohio's team.
I don't have a Joe Burrow jersey on. I got my DeMar Hamlin jersey on.
That's true.
Look, here's my whole thing about this is that do you root for Cincinnati otherwise?
No. I'm going to jump into this. This pisses me off. Like they're a division rival. It's not like they're in Cincinnati and they're in the NFC and like they're not even part of our conference. Like they're a division rival.
I mean, can you imagine if they win the Super Bowl, the kind of shit that they'll talk forever?
Oh yeah. It's just ridiculous.
It's just terrible.
And we're just sitting here, we really like Joey B and the Bengals are in Ohio, so we need to root for them. That's not the case. This is the AFC North. The Browns are in the AFC North. We hate the Bengals. We hate the Steelers. We hate the Ravens. We don't want them to win ever. F them all. Like, I just don't understand this idiotic notion that because a team from Ohio that's nowhere near us here in Northeast Ohio is in the playoffs, we have to root for them.
Like, you can't.
Pittsburgh Steelers are closer to us than the Cincinnati Bengals. Do we root for them every time they're in the playoffs? Hell no.
And I don't even think you can, fly to Cincinnati for a game. Like, you got to fly to Kentucky to get to Cincinnati. That's how lame Cincinnati is.
Yeah, it's just.
The last time I was in Cincinnati, I had to spend a lot of time across the border in Kentucky, and let me tell you, that wasn't a fun place to be either. Cincinnati is just an armpit, and you can say what you want about Cleveland, but Cincinnati is way more of an armpit. So I'm not
going to bash them.
Oh, I'm going to bash them. It's a trash
Let
city.
it be known, I'm not bashing their city.
There's not a single good sports bar there, and the people there are just they're less than Ohioans.
They're Kentuckians.
But we get the whole Joe Burrow went to Ohio State thing, got his degree there, but he didn't win a championship at Ohio State.
No.
Look, I can respect Joe Burrow. It's
funny because coming out of college, people like to try and claim him as an Ohio State guy. And Joe Burrow even said, I'm an LSU guy. I'm not an Ohio State guy. Sure, he came here. Ryan Day and Urban Meyer decided he wasn't good enough to be our starting quarterback.
I think he got hurt and hurt his hand or something.
I mean, there was other circumstances, but it's oversimplifying it. I'm just saying, he's not an Ohio State guy.
Agreed. And here's the thing. Joe Burrow has been fun to watch in these playoffs.
Oh, I will say I like Joe Burrow. And
sure.
I will say as a player, when you pick out players across the league that you like to root for, Joe Burrow is somebody I root for, but I don't root for him to win because I don't want Cincinnati to win.
Yeah, I respect Joe Burrow like I respect Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or
he's just a really good quarterback. It's fun to watch him play.
Yeah, it's fun to watch him play. He's a fun guy too. He has
like a mushroom.
He's like Baker Mayfield if Baker were good. If
Baker
can trash
Mayfield
talk
didn't have an attitude, like a bad attitude, and he was actually really good at football.
Just like in a press conference after a game, he'll shoot the shit. He doesn't.
I got some good quotes coming up here.
He's fun that way, right? So I get that there's a likeness about him that people will gravitate towards. But here's the other thing too that I think doesn't get talked about enough when it comes to Cincinnati and the Bengals and the Browns. two teams voted to keep Cleveland in Cleveland when Modell moved the Browns. Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Cincinnati voted for you to leave.
Yeah.
They said, get out of here. F them. F them all.
F them all. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know where this newfound love. I think it's just the bandwagoners. To me, that's exactly what it is. It's weak Browns fans.
The leads are weak. The leads are weak. Fucking leads are weak. You're weak.
Sorry to say it, but that's what you guys are. You guys are weak because we haven't won in such a long time that you're like, I need something to root for, so I'm going to hop ship and root for the Bengals while they're winning. Well, no. If that's the case, you stay down there in Cincinnati. You keep rooting for that team because we're with the Browns come hell or high water, and it's usually high fucking water.
Mostly water, yeah.
And we're all drowning and going to hell. And
wow. What a start to this show.
And we stick with the Browns and we don't sit here and jump around and root for anybody else in the AFC North.
No.
It's the Browns,
You're Browns
bust.
fans.
And that's it. So go home. You're drunk. Get out of here. I'm so sick of hearing everybody talk about how they want the Bengals to do well. Well, shut your damn mouth.
Yeah, the last team that I want at this point to win the Super Bowl is the Bengals.
I agree.
Yeah.
F them all.
F them all.
But anyway, sorry, I got going there for a
You
second.
got gassed up there?
Yeah, you got gassed up. I got gassed up. So let's talk about our new defensive coordinator. They did settle on a defensive coordinator. I know you mentioned him at the top of the show.
I didn't.
Good old Jim Schwartz.
I didn't mention him. I mentioned this activewear.
Yeah. So Jim Schwartz.
We literally hired a guy whose name is Jim Shorts.
No, but seriously, Jim Schwartz. How do you feel about this?
Look, I think Jim Schwartz was absolutely the.
Once you hear Jim Schwartz, you can't unhear it.
No, it's like losing Shailene Woodley.
This isn't real.
Jim Schwartz was the. Jim Schwartz was the logical, safe choice in terms of here's a guy that comes in with a lot of experience, has head coaching experience, led a team in Philadelphia from being one of the worst defensive units in the NFL into being one of the best. Has won a Super Bowl doing that. So, and obviously I think if you're Kevin, you like to have the wisdom of somebody who coached for, I don't know exactly how long he was a Lions head coach, 7 years or something like that. But, and he really wasn't super successful in that run. They were like 25-52 or something in that run. But he had a couple of like decent seasons. But I just think it's a safe choice. I think he's a well-respected guy around the league. And so I don't have a problem with Jim Shorts.
Yeah, I mean,
Jim Shorts yet, but
I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head. If you line up all the guys that they interviewed and you told me they're going to pick one of these guys, who is it going to be? And you just say, okay, well, how much experience does every single guy have that's standing up here? And what does each person bring to the table? You just assume it's going to be that guy. He's got the most experience. He's been around the league. He just it's like you said, it's just super safe. But here's how I feel about the whole thing is I think it's actually insurance is what they invested in. We have Kevin Stefanski, and as much as everyone in Cleveland and in their organization tries to talk about how he's not on the hot seat, you brought in a guy with head coaching experience to be behind him. Not only a guy with head coaching experience, you brought in a guy that's known as an accountability guy. This guy's an ass kicker in the locker room, and he comes in, he's real hard-nosed, he's a mean MFer, he keeps players in line, he makes them do what they're supposed to do. He's literally the exact opposite of Kevin Stefanski.
Which is interesting because I think that tells you a lot about the hire.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, I know Andrew Berry, we talked about this last week. He sat there in the press conference. He said, it's going to be up to Kevin. It's going to be his hire. I like to call bullshit on that one because I think the organization looked at him and he said, we have no accountability here. We need to go the opposite direction. And here's my other thing with it is it too late in Stefanik's regime for accountability? I mean, we're in year 4 here, and we're talking about we need more accountability. We're talking about Jim Schwartz coming in here and giving us a culture change in year 4 of our head coach's regime.
Can the defensive coordinator by himself change the culture?
No. Absolutely. I mean, no. He can change the culture of the defense potentially, but that doesn't change the other half of the team that you got to rely on. The other 2/3 if you count special teams. I mean, we still kept Prefer, so clearly we don't count special teams.
And so that's the thing that bothers me is like I still, even if Jim Schwartz came in and was everything as advertised and did, the hard-nosed ass kicker kind of guy that comes in and really does put in an effort to change things. If your head coach is still, I don't even know how to say in 2023, is still soft on discipline, accountability, and just in general, he's not a flamethrower, right? Like he's not a rah-rah guy. So like X's and O's, I have faith that he can do. Can he motivate people? I don't think so.
So soft. He's just so soft. Hashtag flaccid.
That's how we say it. Hashtag flaccid.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, the one thing I did like is in his press conference, and I'll ask you if you had any things that you liked that stuck out from the press conference. But the one thing that I really liked is he made it a point to say, Myles Garrett, as well as he's played, is underutilized in the system, and I want to come in here and maximize his abilities and make sure that we're utilizing him the best we can and putting him in advantageous positions at all times. It's funny because you just had Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know if that was a dig at him possibly, but Jadeveon Clowney came in and said, we were always trying to put Myles Garrett in good positions. And then you got Jim Schwartz coming in saying we need to put him in better positions. So, but I did like that. You go directly at the captain of your defense and one of your best players on the team, and you say, this is the guy we need to rally around. So.
Yeah, agreed. In terms of the press conference, I'll be honest, I was a little underwhelmed at the press conference.
It was kind of everything you expected to hear. Is the only thing.
It was things that I didn't expect to hear. The first 10 minutes of the press conference were him recounting his days as Browns player personnel, as a volunteer assistant for the first year, him being broke, some guy in Cleveland lending him a couch. And then the next 10 minutes were followed by a story about how he ate Bill Belichick's turkey sandwich. So like,
forgot about that
one. To be honest, like I didn't
anecdotes galore.
I didn't get a lot of meaningful traction out of that. What I do think, I think that those things were intentional because I think
they deflected a little bit.
And here's my conspiracy theory for the day. I think that everything about the way they've introduced Jim Schwartz to this point has been to try to portray him in a way that can help him change culture. So we've already said that in this podcast, ass kicker, no BS, kind of hard-nosed guy. Let's not forget that this guy went to Georgetown. So
he's also an Ivy League.
When you think about the Stefanik Berry regime and the elite academia,
is that what won him the job? As he came in, he's like, "Hey guys,"
he's like, "I'm an ass kicker that went to Georgetown."
I went to Georgetown, and they were like, "Sold."
Yeah, like Jim Schwartz is actively known as one of the first guys to really grab a hold of analytics and start using them. So once he got into a position as like a lead coach or a head coach, so. Yeah, I think that, like, again, not conspiracy theory, not that I don't like the hire, not that I don't like Jim Schwartz. I just think that
Who doesn't like a good pair of Jim Schwartz?
I think the Browns are pulling the wool a little bit over everyone's eyes because we've portrayed him so heavily as this hard-nosed ass kicker when really he played football at Georgetown with Jim Gaffigan.
Fair. So, I mean, I guess you kind of said it there. Overall, good hire, bad hire? Or are we going with neither? It was a safe hire.
It was a safe hire, and look, I'll say on
predictable
on January, whatever date today is, in January of 2023, it's a good hire because he's not named Joe Woods.
I think we all can agree with that. Joe Woods, sayonara. Next up here, I wanted to throw this out here because I just thought it was kind of funny. Kevin Stefanski this week was lauded by computers as the 9th best coach in a completely made up category of air quotes, win probability added over expected.
The all whop away.
Yeah, exactly. So basically what this was is these computers and whatever thing, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Whoever put this out there.
The sentient computers?
Yeah, basically they simulate every call that he made in each quarter on 3rd downs, 4th downs, et cetera, and they calculated his WAPAOE or WPAOE number. And Stefanski ranked 9th in the NFL at 18.7 win probability added over expected. And this week, nonstop Stefanik lovers are saying, See, here's a statistic that shows he knows what he's doing.
Well, yeah, we've been saying that the Browns for the last couple of years have been hailed as the number one analytics franchise in the entire sport.
Listen, here's the deal. This is a completely made up and analytic stat based off of probability simulations. There's literally no basis in real life for this thing.
If you played Madden 100 times and let the computer play,
what would happen?
What would happen?
Literally no bearing on real life whatsoever. It fits right in with the Browns analytics heavy front office. It's just like, what do the computers say? It says we should be pretty good. Well, here we go.
Here we go.
Here's the deal. Wins and losses, when it comes down to brass tacks, wins and losses is all that matter. These computer statistics don't do shit for them. So I don't know. It was such a funny thing for Stefanik lovers to go out there and be like, see, look at this stat. See, he knows what he's doing. He makes good calls.
I mean, everybody that's anyone checks their WAP away every day.
Everybody. Oh, and by the way, coach that finished 5th in this thing, 4 spots ahead of Stefanik, Matt. What is this, Eberflus?
Eberflus.
For the Bears at 32.2%. You guys do know the Bears have the number 1 pick in the draft this year, right?
Yeah.
So just saying. To quote the late great, all right, he's not late. He's just great. To quote the great Austin Carr, get that weak stuff out of here. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, look, and it's not even that we're at war with the analytics here. It's not. It's we're comfortable with saying, hey, can we leverage technology to make better decisions? Sure, but at the point
the Browns, no.
But at the point where we start making up statistics to try to validate our efforts, that's when you're in like the government territory, right? You just, nothing you say is true. You can't be trusted. And you're a problem.
It's just ridiculous. But anyways, I just quoted Austin Carr. And speaking of the Cavaliers, we're going to move on from the Browns here.
The Cavaliers.
They're now 29-19, 5th in the East still 2nd in the Central. They're a game and a half back now, so they're falling behind a little bit. They continue to struggle on the road. They're 9-14 on the road, 20-5 at home. And they were starting to get healthy, and then Donovan Mitchell went down with a groin strain. So he missed missed probably a week and a half now. So
groin strain is a tough one because that's not one that's easy to heal from.
No,
it's
like even if you come back from it, it lingers.
Yeah, so that always makes me clench up when I hear groin strain.
Any type of soft tissue damage is rough.
Yeah, you pucker your butthole when you hear that.
Yeah. But anyways, he is supposed to, like I had mentioned, we're recording this on Tuesday this week, and he is supposed to play tonight. So that's at least promising. Hopefully that holds true. Hopefully he plays against the Knicks. But in his stead, Evan Mobley did have a couple huge games and was able to kind of help us keep pace a little bit.
What did he have the other night? 38 or something the other night? He went for
34, career high 34.
Yeah.
So we were able to we kind of stayed 500 while he was gone. So
like the continued growth and development of Evan Mobley is good. That was one of the things we talked about early in the season, was that it seemed like maybe he wasn't getting involved in the offense quite to the clip that he needed to be. So for him to
I think it was great for him to be the
like
featured
that,
guy for a few games.
Yeah, because it's just going to help him learn and develop confidence.
I will say this though, on the other end of that, what's a little concerning is Darius Garland just completely shrinks when he becomes the guy. because they tried to lean on him for parts of those games, and it did not work. And so they ended up. That's when Evan Mobley kind of got lifted up and was the feature guy.
I do think it's tough too, though, because they've been playing so much 1 and 2 ball with him and Donovan. So when you lose Donovan Mitchell,
it's just
it changes the tempo of your offense and everything you're doing.
I don't claim to be a basketball expert by any means. I'm more of a casual fan when it comes to the Cavs, and I know
you're just an asshole.
Well, there's that, but I know a decent amount about basketball, but I'm not.
You played basketball?
I did for a while, but it's not the level of like football knowledge that I have. So I will say, maybe he's just. I don't know. I'm just saying it was just an observation for the games that.
What are you saying?
Donovan Mitchell was gone. Is Darius Garland played a lot worse than I thought he would.
Yeah. So I would say this: two things just out of the wrap there was, they're still 29-19, and I continue to hear kind of this background panic.
Yeah.
And I just don't get it. I don't get it. The only thing that
it's like everybody's like, we need to make a big move, and it's like, no, just let them keep gelling.
This is very much similar to the way that the LeBron teams went into the playoffs. So you had LeBron then, so it's different. I get it, but
and it actually reminds me, and I said this earlier in the year. This team reminds me of like the Detroit teams of the early 2000s, and before they became the Detroit team that everybody knows. Like, they were just a bunch of guys that were thrown together that played solid basketball, and then all of a sudden they gelled and took off and were phenomenal.
I just think they're a really young team with a really high ceiling. And so I'm not in the camp of, like, we absolutely need to make a move.
Let's blow it up!
And I'm... the only thing that I am a little bit trepidatious with at this point is the fact that they've played so much better at home than on the road. So it would be important for them to be in the top half of the seedings for the first round.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
But outside of that, like,
it's weird. You get like the top 3 seeds, 3 or 4, 3 seeds in the East. And then it falls off drastically. So if they could make it into those top 3 and be playing one of like the lower seeds, rather than like getting stuck at like the 5 and having to play the 4 or whatever that matchup is, they'll be much better off. So
I just think, if they can get a home game in the playoffs, that would be good. But at the same time, like, they've been a really pleasant surprise that they came along as well as they did last year. Yep. They added Donovan Mitchell this year, and they're playing good, fun basketball. This team doesn't have LeBron James.
Nope.
Are we expecting them to win is that the expectation? We can hope, and we can watch, and we can enjoy it, but
hell, LeBron's teams don't even expect to win the championship anymore.
True. That's another story.
Yeah, but in other Cavs news here, the wild thing, Anderson Varejao was welcomed back to the team as a player development consultant and global ambassador. So it was a pretty cool moment. They had like a ceremony for him. I put the picture up here with his jersey and all this stuff, and he came back to the team, and he's always kind of hung around the Cavs ever since he retired. But they officially brought him back and found him a place in the organization, which I think is cool.
Yeah, look, who doesn't like Anderson Varejao?
Remember when they used to give out the wigs?
Everybody was.
I wish I had one.
A Wild
right
Thing
now.
wig. Yeah. No, Anderson's a good guy. There's if you don't like Anderson Varejao, then you.
I agree.
But I do like that they've kind of just made up a role for him. Like that's kind of my goal in life, is for somebody to come back to me.
Somebody loves me so much that they literally make up a job for me to do.
This is just what are you? You're the consultant of strategy and development.
I'm the guy. What do you do? I do it.
So good for him. But
and then I know he isn't a Cavalier anymore, but we've mentioned him a couple times already. LeBron James is projected to break the all-time scoring record early next month. He currently needs 224 points to get there. And in case you're wondering, in his last 5 games in his 20th season in the NBA, he has scored 37, 23, 32, 48, and 35. And I know people, there's the constant debate, who's the GOAT, whatever. I don't care. It's so impressive watching LeBron continue to put up numbers.
When he's 40?
Even he's pushing 40s. I know his team's underperforming.
They've kind of made a mess of everything out there.
Well, and it's kind of
And a little bit of it is LeBron's fault.
Yeah, I was going to say, I hate to say it, but that's kind of LeBron's MO. He comes in, he blows up the team, and he gets out of there. So he's probably going to be gone after this year. But
I just think I don't think he even cares anymore, right? Like, he's got his rings in 3 separate cities, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and all those people that say that the COVID year didn't count, it's still a championship. Nobody cares.
I kind of think it doesn't count, but that's okay.
But history won't see it that way.
No.
In 25 years, nobody will even say. They'll just be like,
say LeBron won championships in 3 NBA cities, which is impressive. And he knows that he'll continue to stack up statistics as long as he plays. And he seems to be happy out there because he's got his business and his production studio and all that stuff out there. So I don't know that he'll leave or go anywhere else.
I know there's all these people saying he's like stat chasing at this point. I guess a little bit of it is that way. And even if he is, I don't really care. Well, but I think more of it is just he wants to play until his son is a pro. And then he's like, after that first year and I get to play with my son, I'm going to be out. So, because he's LeBron James, he does whatever he wants. And he's going to say, whatever team gets him, that's who's signing me too. And there's nothing you could do about it.
Yeah. And you said there's so much made about the Jordan LeBron debate. Who's the best? Who's the greatest of all time? I just think that that's such a oversimplification of both of their careers.
I agree.
To be able to say one's better than the other. I'll say this. I didn't get to see most of Michael Jordan's career because I was too young.
We got to see Wizards Michael Jordan.
We got to see Wizards Michael Jordan, and the end of that, I had a Bulls championship poster on my wall, and I had a Bulls
literally
starter windbreaker jacket.
Yeah, when they were making their big run, I was like 5 years old. So.
Yeah, I didn't understand basketball at that time.
That guy's pretty good. Space Jam, dope.
So I'll say, for me personally, LeBron James is the best player I've ever seen play basketball. Period. Yep. But we're never going to answer that question of who's better because I'm never going to see LeBron in his prime play Michael Jordan in his prime,
and nobody ever will.
So it's just respect both of their careers and go.
I agree.
It's amazing what they've done.
Yeah, I agree. I will say to me, Michael Jordan is not the GOAT, and LeBron James is, but that's just me. And I think a lot of it has to do with just the bias of me watching him play for so long. And I think it's just astounding that he's played for 20 years, continues, as much as people say he doesn't, he continues to reinvent himself. The sport has completely changed since he came into the league. It used to be big man dominated, then it went to guards only, then it was back to big men, and now we're shooting threes all the time and doing all that. And LeBron continues to evolve and is still putting up those same exact numbers night in and night out that he was early in his career.
Jordan wasn't putting up these numbers when he was LeBron's age.
No,
and he had a 2 or 3 year break.
Yeah, so it's just impressive. So I'll leave it at that. It's very, very impressive. We'll probably talk about it again when he gets to the record. But it's just that's pretty cool to see somebody actually break that record coming up here. And then finally, Guardians. We'll talk about the Guardians here. Guards Fest happened this week, and by all accounts, it was a huge success. But I will say this: one thing that I took issue with at Guards Fest. There were different paid packages for getting autographs. What happened to the good old days of just showing up at Tribe Fest back in the day, or even just at the ballpark on game day and waiting patiently for your autograph? And maybe you get one, maybe you won it, but that was part of the fun.
Do you want to know what happened to them?
The rich got richer, and we just pay for it now?
They gone.
Thank you. So yeah, I just said it. It just seems like every day the rich get richer, and the people that can pay for this just kind of keep pushing the everyday people that actually go and watch these games.
I wouldn't mind it so much if they would invent their own Ticketmaster.
We're back to this. Here we go. But anyways, that'll do it for the Burning River Rundown. Let me remind you of something here.
Yeah, listen up.
You need to call into the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline.
What he said.
Look, call us. Tell us what you think about the Cavs,
Gym shorts,
Browns, anything Browns. We want to hear what you guys have to say. So far, you've been pretty quiet, which in my experience, Browns fans are the opposite of quiet, but Apparently,
Yeah.
nobody has any grievances with the Browns. They love how the organization is run. They love the Haslams. They think they're the best owners in the land.
They do.
So call us, talk about it. Let us know what you think.
They have Art Modell murals on their walls.
330-227-8080.
I'm going to whisper because my throat is all goofed. 330-227-8080.
330-227-8080.
I'll let Ronnie do the yelling today.
All right, so that's it for news from the land this week. Let's take a quick revenue break and then come back and talk about the playoffs. Towpath Distillery. Towpath Distillery, the newest craft distillery in Northeast Ohio, located in Akron and family owned. Towpath Distillery focuses on high-quality spirits carefully made in small batches. Towpath's lineup includes an ultra-smooth, award-winning premium vodka, a small batch silver rum made from the highest-grade molasses, an American craft gin made with 9 botanicals, and a blended straight bourbon made from corn and rye. Towpath Distillery. Visit towpath-distillery.com to find an agency near you where the spirits are available, and make sure to ask your local bartender and restaurateur. Towpath Distillery. Handcrafted, small batch, local, and family owned.
How small is the batch?
The smallest batch. I don't know. But it's all their spirits are delicious. Go check out Towpath.
Towpath.
All right, that'll take us to the NFL divisional round recap. So, in the divisional round, on the AFC side of things, we had the Jaguars at the Chiefs. This game was a lot closer than we expected it to be. It kind of stayed close throughout. I know Mahomes got hurt, and that helped the Jaguars a lot, but it was close throughout the entire game.
You know, Chad Henne came in, led a 98-yard drive, and
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Yeah, like I said, Mahomes got hurt. He has the dreaded high ankle sprain. So it is going to be interesting to see how that impacts him, next week in the conference championship game.
High ankle sprain is not the one you want.
No. But yeah, I mean, one other note here: Travis Kelce has really cemented himself as like one of the best tight ends to ever play football. Like,
Oh, yeah.
like every time I watch this guy, I'm super impressed. I'm just like, how?
He's like the Thor, but he can catch a football.
He's worthy.
He's so worthy. I'm
Yeah,
not worthy.
That guy's pretty good, though. But the Jaguars were in a really familiar spot to the Browns. You mentioned it a minute ago. Everybody remembers us playing the Chiefs with a chance to go to the conference championship game a couple years ago. And all we had to do was stop Chad Henne. Well, fast forward a couple
It
years,
can't be done.
and all that the Jaguars had to do was stop Chad Henne, and they would be moving on to the conference championship game. But alas,
Let me ask you this. I know it was only one drive.
Chad Henne's too much, man, for any man to handle.
No. just that the way that he came in, I mean, literally from the 2-yard line. Like he was throwing, and on the first play, they threw the ball out of their own end zone. Does the confidence of that team, the personnel they have, the scheme they run, are we potentially overvaluing Pat Mahomes? Like if Pat Mahomes played for the Raiders, would they still be bad?
Probably, but I mean, he doesn't, so it doesn't matter. I mean, they didn't start having that success until he got there. They were actually not very
True,
good.
but I'm just saying, what if it was? Could it be anybody that was there at the
I don't know that it
right
could be
place,
anybody.
right time?
I think that Patrick Mahomes takes them to even like a next level. Like, could they be a good team and maybe a playoff team without him? Sure, maybe. With Patrick Mahomes, I think you get 5 straight conference championship games.
I kind of want to see him somewhere else.
It's probably not happening, so you can keep wanting all you want. Wanting one. My mom used to tell me this: wanting one hand and shit in the other, and see which one fills up faster.
That's fair.
Good old Cindyism for you.
No, I just think that's a really, like, they didn't miss a beat when he came in the game. It was like Patrick Mahomes was still on the field.
And I just think I think more so than is it Patrick Mahomes versus anybody else. I think it's just the culture. We talked about earlier in the podcast the Browns culture and how we brought in gym shorts to try and change the culture again. And it just never happens here. We just have a culture of losing.
The Browns don't have a culture.
No. But they have they've created that culture of winning in Kansas City, and it doesn't matter who you put back there or who you put in any position. I mean, you saw Tyreek Hill leaves town, and they're still phenomenal.
Well, yeah, they got guys that I've never even heard of
it doesn't
good
matter
now.
Because they have that culture that they expect to win every game they play.
Was Pacheco high on your fantasy squad radar this year?
Yeah, of course. I'm great at fantasy football.
There was one other thing that struck me really after the game was I saw
27-20, by the way. That's what the Chiefs squeaked by.
the Chiefs. Yes,
27-20.
we did think they would win by more, but the injury to Mahomes.
Oh, and before you get there, Trevor Lawrence lost for the first time in his life on a Saturday.
That's true.
So
that sucks.
Feels bad for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, maybe he'll cut his hair now.
And finally, we were both right on this pick.
One thing that I found just interesting that came out of this game was that this win was Andy Reid's 10th win with the Chiefs in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He's now the only coach to have 10 playoff wins with two different ball clubs. To which I was kind of like, it didn't seem like an overwhelming stat to me. I guess it's one thing, like Andy Reid has coached for a long time. I guess maybe that's part of what that says. But the other thing that kind of says to me is we've talked a lot this year about Jeff Saturday and these young coaches coming up and just kind of the way the NFL has always been run. This is the first coach to ever win a significant amount of playoff games with two teams. But every year, as the coaching carousel turns, what do? We go, well, that guy got fired here. Maybe he's a fit over there. That guy got fired over there. Maybe he's a fit over here. Maybe we're just picking coaches the wrong way.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I say that guy has 10 playoff wins with that team. He's probably not doing it with anyone else. So let me go get some other guy.
They've this such a small club, and we've seen what happens now when you go outside of that club to do something that's outside of the box. You get ostracized for it. You get chastised for it. And I just look at it and go, is this really what's working for you, though? You just keep bringing in a guy that got fired for not being good somewhere else, and you think, we'll give it a run here.
Yeah. I mean, I think the bottom line is what they don't value enough in the NFL. Analytics has creeped in, and for some organizations, we won't say who, it's completely taken over. So analytics has creeped in. And you also just have, like you said, like the group, the close-knit group of coaches and owners and things like that kind of stick together. But what they totally undervalue in the NFL is, can you lead men?
Yeah.
Can you lead a team? Because you can get me somebody that doesn't know anything about football.
Well, that's why
he can lead a team and inspire them to play for him every week,
and that's what I mean.
You're going to win games.
It just seems like every year we pick a guy that we know had a good scheme here, had some
because
success
you know what
there.
That guy does. A guy that knows how to lead men, he goes and hires a staff that knows the football side of things for him.
Yeah,
and he delegates properly, and he rallies the troops. He says, "Everybody, follow me into battle, and we'll do this thing, and we'll win." He that's what happens.
I just think it's so funny that we've pigeonholed ourselves so deeply and tightly into this. It's an elite club, and you're not in it.
I'm not in it.
And when all of these guys ultimately came from somewhere, right? Our boy Jim Shorts was an economics major at Georgetown.
Yeah.
And he found his way in. So, I just feel like that guy in today's NFL, well, maybe because it's a Georgetown degree, but let's say you went to Miami of Ohio. That guy with his economics degree from Miami of Ohio is never going to get a look as a head coach or as a personnel scout or whatever because he's not in the club.
Nope.
Even he might be the best coach on the history of the planet, but you'll never know.
Yeah, fair. But we digress. The Jacksonville Jaguars did not get slaughtered like
I
we thought
never digress.
So next up we have the Bengals at the Bills. Everyone was talking up the Bills before this one. They were my Super Bowl pick, so I'm guilty of that as well. And they had said that the game between the Bills and the Chiefs, if it got to that game, would be played in Atlanta at a neutral site, and tickets were already being sold for that thing. Well, Joey B had news for him and was asked about it before the game started, and asked if he felt like an underdog going into this one. And he said, well, first of all, I never feel like an underdog. And then after the game, when they won, spoiler alert, he said, well, they better go get those refunds. So the Bengals came out and they looked fantastic. Yep. Like, not just good. They looked fantastic.
In all three phases of the game.
Oh my gosh. Like, it was a beatdown they put on the Bills. And you mentioned it last week. You totally called it. You said that the snow was actually going to help. I don't know if you said it on the show or if you texted that to me.
What I said last week on the show was just that the Bills eventually were going to get caught up because they can't run the ball. And then what happened on Sunday, I didn't know that the weather was going to be what it was. When I turned the game on and saw that there was a foot of snow on the ground, I texted you immediately and I was like, this is not good for Buffalo.
Yeah. Well, and you would think, Buffalo being Buffalo, that it would benefit them, but the lack of running game, like you mentioned, I mean, Josh Allen's their whole running game, right? So, it totally went that way as Joe Mixon was able to pretty much do whatever he wanted to.
Put up 105 yards or something. Yeah. And, the Bengals just looked really good. And what I found fascinating, too, was even throwing the ball, Joe Burrow looked so much more comfortable than Josh Allen.
He just didn't look phased whatsoever. At any point during that game. And they got pressure on him. They were all over him. He had to climb the pocket multiple times, get out of there, throw the ball on the run, whatever. And he still just didn't look phased at all. And even when you saw his face, like when they zoomed in on him, he's just kind of like, I'm playing football.
Yeah, there's some guys that have that, right? Like you get LeBron James doing the silencer, you get Tiger Woods at the Masters. Like, not everybody has that level of just you're in the zone. Yeah, but he's one of those guys you could see it in his eyes.
Yeah, he totally did. And I mean, look, like I said, they couldn't have looked any better. They legitimately looked like they were playing a JV team at times. And you called it, man. The snow did the Bills no favors, and the Bengals dominated.
It was just one of those things that was ironic, right? And that's what I texted you. I said, ironically, the snow in Buffalo is probably going to do them in, because you would think Buffalo, they love the snow. Bills Mafia breaking tables in the snow, light each other on fire in the snow.
Bills Mafia did not disappoint. Go look up some of those videos from before the game.
But what actually worries me a little bit, and is the parallel that I would draw between Buffalo and Cleveland, because I think we always feel this way, that like if we had a playoff game in January at First Energy, we would be stoked that we would feel like we have some kind of advantage because of the weather.
I don't think with our team now,
with the Nick, through 2-3 years ago with Nick Chubb as your primary focal point of your offense, yeah, maybe. You have a $230 million air raid quarterback now, and you insist that running the ball isn't valuable whatsoever. So I don't know how you're going to do that.
He's the 9th best wins above
Wap away.
Wap away.
Weema wap, weema wap. That's a stat Kevin Stefanski's good at, the weema wap. But I just think that worries me, because now I'm almost worried about having a January home game, because if it's cold and snowy and we build this offense to be this, prolific.
If it's cold and snowy in January in Cleveland, we're throwing it 45 times.
We probably will, and we will probably lose. So yeah, I think it's the same thing with the Bills. That's the type of offense that really Deep Podesta has said. Look at the Bills. Look at the Chiefs. Well, when the weather's not good and you have a team come in that can actually run the football, and Joe Mixon's not a world beater by any means, but he looked damn good in that game.
Yep. The weather outside is weather.
So, yeah, I mean, disappointing effort from the Bills for sure, because they felt like they had
Stephon
everything
Diggs blowing up on the sideline, asking why he's not getting the ball. Well, Stephon Diggs, newsflash, is a blizzard. So,
and
they tried to run you on deep routes all night. So.
They had when they got down 2 scores, because I kept wondering. That was I should have put like a parlay bet on this. Was when were they going to show DeMar Hamlin? Because it kind of knew early on that DeMar Hamlin was in the building. But I was like, they're going to, in a critical point in the game, they're going to put him on the Jumbotron because the stadium's going to go nuts. And it did. But unfortunately, whatever, depending on whose side you're on, I guess, they put him up because they were down 14-0. And it was like, guys, we got to do something. So they played the DeMar card early and didn't get much for it. So also, you see there's a conspiracy about DeMar Hamlin now because you couldn't see him real well.
It's just wild. The things people come up with, man. It was good to see that he made it to the game. I see you got your DeMar Hamlin jersey on today, so
I do.
Support.
Respect.
But yeah, the Bengals won 27-10. It wasn't even close. Kenny was right, and I was oh so wrong. And there goes my Super Bowl team.
Feels bad.
Yeah, with my picks being so good all year, my Super Bowl team is dead.
That's all right. Mine died before the playoffs, so.
So the NFC divisional matchups here, we have the Giants at the Eagles. Do we even need to talk about this game? It wasn't even really a game.
Look, the Eagles looked good.
Yeah.
And the Giants are who we thought they were.
Look, Saquon Barkley was completely shut down, and his quote unquote elite quarterback, Danny Dimes, looked more like Danny Disaster this week. So
yeah, I mean this was one of the only games that I'll be honest, I like channel surfed during because the other games were all pretty good. I mean, even the Chiefs game was a little bit. I always felt like the Chiefs were going to win, but
like even though the Bengals won handily, it felt like the Bills at times put up a fight.
Well, and you kept waiting because you know how good the Bills are.
Like they could score in a minute.
You kept waiting for that 6-minute stretch where they put two scores together and then all of a sudden it's a game.
Nope.
In
this game, the Eagles literally did whatever they wanted the entire game. The score, in case anyone cared, it was 38-7. So we were both right on that one.
And no one deserves a playoff victory less than the city of Pittsburgh. Just awful town. They throw snowballs at Santa.
Pittsburgh.
Or Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. They killed Hitchbot. Those sons of bitches.
It's all in Pennsylvania, all of that stuff.
A lot of cool history there, but you killed Hitchbot, so you're dead to me.
Yeah. You killed Hitchbot. He made it all around the world.
In case anyone doesn't know what Hitchbot is, it's a robot, a hitchhiking robot that made it all the way around the world and then was curb stomped there in Philadelphia.
By a guy in a Randall Cunningham jersey in Philadelphia. He made it all the way around the world and didn't make it out of Philly.
Unbelievable. So that'll take us to the Cowboys at 49ers here. Last matchup in the divisional round. And this one was much better on the NFC side of things.
Yeah. A little anyway.
Yeah. Dallas and the 49ers got locked up in a defensive battle in this one. Neither team could really get a lot going, but in the end, Mr. Irrelevant was able to stay turnover free while Mr. 160 million threw two interceptions that helped seal the Cowboys' fate. And I don't know if you caught this or not, but after the game, Dak Prescott was walking off and he threw his helmet in disgust, and that also was intercepted. And in case anyone is keeping track, Blake Bortles has still played in more conference championship games than the Cowboys have since 1996.
I like how you wrote Blake Bottles.
Autocorrect, man. It really got me.
My favorite quarterback, Blake Bottles. Yeah, look, this is kind of an all-time bad scenario for the Cowboys. I think Dak Prescott's record in the playoffs is the same as Tony Romo's. And
they ran Tony Romo out of town.
Yeah, I mean, they were both like 2-3 in the playoffs. And I just think I was surprised that they couldn't get anything going on offense, but I think that just speaks to how good and how well coached that 49ers defense is. And Brock Purdy, look, he wasn't as impressive this week as he has been in the last couple of weeks.
But he didn't make any mistakes.
But he didn't cause, he didn't.
And by mistakes, I just mean turnovers.
Yeah, no turnovers. He didn't lose the game, He didn't. Yeah. So I find it really interesting that I was hearing a noise and saw a couple postings this week that Jimmy G might be healthy enough to play by the end of the year, if they make it to the Super Bowl,
Nope.
I would find it
They will not
very
bench him.
odd to bench Brock Purdy at this point.
They won't. But anyways, in case anyone was wondering, I was right. Kenny was wrong on this one.
Thank
so
you.
our records were exactly the same for this round.
Exactly the same.
3-1 for both of us. Good job, buddy. But here's the bad news. My Super Bowl pick is Dunzo. So, Kenny, your Eagles are still alive in this thing.
Fly, Eagle, fly.
My new pick, not that it counts for anything, but my new pick is the 49ers. That's who I'm rolling with the rest of the way. Their defense is good.
And their offense isn't bad.
Yeah. They're
Christian
but
McCaffrey.
You're right. Their offense isn't bad, but their defense is so good.
Their defense is really good.
They could shut anybody down, I think. And Bosa's playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah, I think he had, 18.5 sacks this year. And Christian McCaffrey just looks like the life has been breathed back into his lungs in San Francisco.
Change of scenery. But anyways, that'll take us to the updated playoff picture.
San Francisco is like the most expensive place and city in the whole world or the whole country to live in.
That's dumb.
By like not even a small margin, like a lot.
Anyways, the updated playoff picture. All right, so on the AFC side of things, we've just got the Chiefs and Bengals left. Bills, eliminated. Jaguars,
Eliminated.
And on the NFC side of things, we've got the Eagles versus the 49ers. Cowboys, eliminated. Giants, eliminated.
Eliminated.
And so with that, we go to the conference championship preview. All right.
That segment, the last one, is my favorite. It's my favorite segment.
It's like
we have
30 seconds.
our own sounder for that segment. We have to say, there's two teams left.
The sounder is as long as the segment.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyway, so for the AFC Conference Championship game, we've got Cincinnati at Kansas City. Kenny, who you got in this one? I'll let you go first.
Oh, man. I'll say this. I'm actually really sad that it's conference championships, because I've enjoyed these playoffs. It feels like they've gone by way too fast. That being said, Cincinnati was overly impressive in their win this weekend. Joe Burrow looked really good, to the point where I'm almost jealous of Joe Burrow. We talked about I'm not going to root for Joe Burrow. I wish we had Joe Burrow.
Still respect the hell out of him. He's a great quarterback.
And the way they ran the ball, and Eli Apple, out of nowhere, was like a lockdown.
He
corner.
finally decided he was going to learn how to play football again. He's been a liability everywhere he's gone, but all of a sudden it was time.
He's done a good job there. I'm still not a huge believer in Zach Taylor. Is this guy an elite head coach in the NFL? But
he was nowhere near the top in WAP away.
He's not a Weeble Wop. No. But that being said, I think Cincinnati played so well. They have all the momentum. Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. He's got the dreaded high ankle sprain.
Oh, no.
I think that Chad Henne probably could play.
You might find out
enough.
You might be able to find out if it's Pat Mahomes or if it's.
I mean, can you imagine if you found out that Pat Mahomes was just ass and you paid him $10 million, 10 years?
Chad Henne comes out and does it again, throws for 450 yards and 4 touchdowns the next game,
and then he goes out and he's just hanging with Baker Mayfield.
Man.
Anyway, I'm going to go Cincinnati over Kansas City for all those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, for the same reasons I have Cincinnati. I'll keep it short and sweet. The simple fact that Pat Mahomes is battling a high ankle sprain, that's all I need to know. So
well, yeah, and this is go time, right? This is for for all the marbles. Everybody has to kind of nut up, and
he's going to try. And I predict he's going to fail miserably.
And I just think
there's nothing he can really do about that. It's a high ankle sprain. It's not an easy injury.
These are the types of games that come down to who has the better quarterback.
Yep.
I think up until this point, we've seen a lot of quarterbacks that you're like, okay, they're not great, but they have a good team around them. Your quarterback has to be playing well to get you here.
Which actually leads into this next game very well. So we've got, for the NFC Conference Championship, we've got the 49ers and the Eagles. We've got a quarterback that's come on of late But on the other side, you've got a quarterback that's played very well all year long, and just you look at it on paper, and Jalen Hurts is far superior to Brock Purdy.
Sure. Yeah.
But with that being said, I'm actually taking the 49ers in this because I believe in their defense so much, and what Bosa's been able to do, what their front seven's been able to do, and just kind of shut everybody down. I like the 49ers. They're running a hot streak. They actually remind me of last year's Bengals, where they came in and they just got really hot at the right time, and I like the 49ers in this one, man. You don't, because the Eagles are your Super Bowl pick.
Yeah, I have to pick the Eagles because they're my Super Bowl pick. But I would not be surprised to see the 49ers win. I think this is a pick-em game. This is as close to a pick-em game as we've seen during these playoffs, because I think both of these teams are the absolute class of their conference, and I think they both can run the ball. They both can play good defense. They both have I don't know what Brock Purdy is, but for right now, Brock Purdy has been really good. Yeah. So they both have, I'll call them good quarterbacks. So I'm going to pick the Eagles by default because I picked them heading into this thing. But fair. I think this is anybody's game, to be quite honest.
Fair.
Slap the bass. Big time. That's better.
So that'll do it for the conference championship preview. Now I want to talk to you about the Burning River Sportscast Hot Take Hotline.
Hot Take Hotline.
Listen, call us. Talk to us. Talk to us about anything. Tell us a story. Tell us what your favorite movie is. Tell us what your favorite TV show is. Or talk to us about the Browns, Cavs, or Guardians. We want to hear it all. We want to put you on air. But if it's really bad, we probably won't put you on air. So make it entertaining.
If you're really cool, we might even call you back and play like a cool game with you and give away Burning River Sportscast merch.
Yeah, we could. Who knows?
It's gonna be a long off season, so
you know, we could do anything. It's our show.
We can do it. We make the rules.
Yep. So in closing here, Kenny!
330-227-8080.
330-227-8080. 330-227-8080.
330-227-8080. Away.
Call us now.
Put whop away.
So Kenny.
Yes, sir.
I was getting fired up for this, but now I'm calm again. What can we expect next week?
What can we expect next week? So we'll recap the conference championship weekend. Obviously, I know this is a weekend that really screws with everyone's schedules because kind of like Sunday, I think the games are like 3 and 6. So your natural circadian rhythm to get up at 1 and watch football, not going to work out. But we will recap both conference championship games, and we will preview our Super Bowl matchup. Probably talk a little bit about the Pro Bowl festivities.
I guess.
And then
lame ass.
We will cover any Browns news, including pending free agent discussions and other Cleveland sports news. Nice.
That sounds like a good show.
It's the best show. It's officially the best show.
Yeah. So on social media, check us out. Tap In Media is on Facebook and Twitter at The Tap In Media, and they are on Instagram at Tap In Media Official. And Burning River Sportscast, that's this podcast that you're listening to right now. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Burning River Sportscast, and on Twitter at Burning River Pod. And don't forget, you can find the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're talking Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Castro, and so many more. Kenny, you got some facts for me?
Facts for days.
Is that what this segment's called now?
It's officially facts for days.
Our closing segment is now called Facts for Days.
Because you never know how many days it'll take to get through them.
7.
So I've been reading a lot about just like the end of the world and stuff. I find it fascinating where we're headed for doom.
The end is nigh.
One of the things that I've been reading about is like DNA mapping, genetic sequencing, genome sequencing.
Oh yeah, that stuff's wild.
And what I found recently is that the total possible combination of alleles, this doesn't make it DNA, you know.
Yeah,
go back to high school biology class, your
alleles.
GATACAs.
Yeah.
Yeah. In humans,
Punnett squares.
The total possible combination. No, not Punnett squares. I mean, that's Gregory Mendel. That's different. That's I mean, it's similar.
Similar but different. I know what you're talking about.
But anyway, what I was interested in was the fact that like as a human, like we're different, right? What makes us different? It's our DNA combinations,
DNA.
right? So
But we are human.
you start getting into like genome mapping more, and you start to realize like there's a finite number of combinations based on just the simple math of like how big the structures are. And there are approximately 70 trillion, 400 billion different combinations
Oh, so not so many.
of DNA. So that accounts for the fact, that accounts for differences between every human outside of monozygotic twins that's ever lived, right? It's like, but what happens when we get to the end of that number, right? You have 70 trillion. 400.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not sure what happens, but I think you're gonna tell me.
Well, I think what happens is like since.
Oh, you don't have a fact for this. It's just it's
No,
speculation.
the fact is that there's 70 trillion combinations. And the fact is that in a lot of years, far from now when we're dead, we, literally us,
will be repeated.
might be repeated.
Oh wow.
I mean, factually,
So you're talking about mapping the genome and being able to manipulate DNA. What happens when they figure out how to map the entire thing and they say, you know what, let's just create the same thing twice and see what happens?
if they map your DNA, they won't make you ever again.
Would those two be exactly the same, or would somehow they come out different?
They would be the exact same.
But would they?
Yeah, like monozygotic twins.
Yeah, but would they?
They would.
All right.
Because the DNA says so.
All right.
They would have to be exactly the same in every way.
DNA is wild, man.
So the good news is like you probably won't run into a doppelganger twin anytime soon because 70 trillion is a lot of combinations. And by my count, and yes, I did count them all, only about 108 billion people have ever lived on Earth. So we're literally at the like 0.00000000001% of all the possible genome combinations.
Say that number again. Total number of people ever lived.
108 billion.
How many people are on Earth right now?
7 billion. That's
We're lucky enough to be two of them? Wow. And we're both married and I have a kid. And you've got one on the way. This is incredible news. That was the best fact of all. Wow, how are we not viral?
I don't know, but just know that you, my friend, in all your glory could be born again someday.
In more ways than one.
Born again Scientologist.
What's next? Because that was just one fact.
We got facts for days here at the Burning River Sportscast. When you think of Egypt, what do you think of?
Pyramids.
Pyramids.
And pharaohs.
Let's go back to pyramids. People associate commonly pyramids with Egypt. But did you know Egypt...
Ancient Mesopotamia.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Egypt doesn't even have the most pyramids in the entire world.
Where it does?
Sudan.
Oh.
Egypt. You seem disappointed.
Go on.
Egypt has around 130, 140 pyramids that have been discovered. Sudan, though, boasts 255 discovered pyramids.
They have at least 2 times the number of pyramids that Egypt has.
Just about. But no one says, I'm going to Sudan for the pyramids. Now, that might be because of the guerrilla warfare. Just general civil unrest.
That's joke about, but that may be the reason.
Crime, terrorism, kidnapping, armed conflict, all those things. But it just seemed odd to me that there are so many pyramids in the Sudan and no one talks about
Fair.
going to the Sudan.
Yeah. A lot of pyramids in South America, too.
Yes, those are different types of pyramids.
Step pyramids.
We can talk about those someday because I have a keen appreciation for the civilizations and the histories of the Incas and the Aztecs and the Mayans. But those aren't part of our facts for today. This last fact is the most important fact of all.
What is it?
Well, not the most important fact of all facts, because that would
Of any fact that ever facted?
that would be the end of the show. Last week we talked about peeing in the sink and how important that is.
We did. I tried it this week.
How'd it go?
It was green.
So green. So that's, we talked about water being a precious resource on Earth.
Yeah.
Kind of jokingly, like protect Earth's resources. Water is
Earth, wind,
the Captain Planet.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you know? Because in school, they teach you.
What do they teach you?
What did they teach you about water in school and the Earth?
They try to teach me that if I run the sink for too long, that it pulls all the water out of a pond and drowns all the fishes.
That's what they taught you in school.
There's a video on it when I was in school. Like, don't waste water while you're brushing your teeth because this fish will die over here.
Did they talk about ratios when you were in school? Like how much water there is?
Yeah.
It's a lot, right?
There's a lot of water.
So in school you're
like
taught
the ratio of water on Earth is what
on
we're
Earth
talking. Yeah,
is
okay. It's like 70-some%.
over 70% water, right?
Yeah.
But while the planet is covered in water, humans can only access about 1% of that water.
Feels bad. It feels like they should access more.
That's because only about 2.5% of all the water on Earth is fresh water. And less than 1% of that is what's accessible because the rest is tied up in glaciers and snowfields. So even if they wanted to be accessible to it, like you just can't. It's just permafrost.
That's a low number.
It's a low number. So 0.5% of the Earth's water really is what's available for fresh water.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
So to think about this in another way, if the world's water supply were 100 liters, and we're in America, so let's call that what that is, 26 gallons.
Which gallons don't make any sense. What the hell are we thinking with gallons?
If you had 26 gallons, that would represent all of the water on Earth. The water that is accessible for us to drink is 1/2 teaspoon.
Wow. That's incredible.
That's an incredible fact, see?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
How do we live?
right? I started asking myself the same
How
question.
do we live?
I was like, I'm going to start peeing in the sink. This frightened me.
I'm so scared of the end times now. We're going to run out of water in our lifetime.
If you run out of water, that'll be a problem. But don't just be a part of the problem. Be the whole damn problem.
Speaking of water, only you can prevent river fires.
Oh, Burning River.
Sportscast.
I can't scream tonight.
Burning River Sportscast.
I'm surprised that I made it through this whole podcast with my voice.
Burning River out.
Keep screaming. Cleveland.
Burning River out.
Burning River, Burning River, Burning River.
You know why, mister? Because you drove a Hyundai to get here tonight. I drove an $80,000 BMW. That's my name.
330-227-8080. 330-227-8080. Boom away.
You see that black smudge right there on the blade?
Yeah.
Look at it closely. Pretty recognizable signature.
No.
Randy Jackson from American Idol.
Why do you have Randy Jackson's autograph on a martial arts weapon?
That's a wrap.
I was going to do a funny thing with the bottle, but you turned it off.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but
Today's episode was brought to you by Towpath Vodka. Towpath Vodka, an ultra premium, extremely smooth, high quality vodka, 6 times distilled and made from Midwest corn and Ohio fruit. Clean and crisp, a truly high quality spirit made right here in Northeast Ohio. Towpath Vodka.